Alright, Kevin here with myatvs.com. Now I'm going to show you how to assemble the CY50A by Tao Tao. First thing you're going to want to know is what tools you need. This is probably the most important tool that you need. Make sure if you don't have some that you go get some. It's red Loctite, and you can get it at Pep Boys or Advanced Auto or one of your local auto stores. I like to use the gel instead of the liquid, but you can buy a bottle of this for about $8, $9. And you'll have it around the house because you're not going to use that much on it. So you need your Loctite, just your pair of snips that you had, a Phillips head screwdriver, either a ratchet set or a cordless drill, and you need a 13 millimeter, 11/16, and a 14 millimeter wrench. You also need a set of Allen wrenches. We have a little setup here we use for our shop back here. I'll be putting this in my drill gun, but just any set of Allen wrenches will work for what we're going to do. So now that you have all the tools that you need, the first thing you need to do when you have this thing uncrated, and if you notice I've left it on the bottom metal rack, I find it easier to assemble it while it's in the rack. But the first thing you want to do is go ahead down on your panel here, unscrew this panel, pop this little lid off. That's where you're going to find your battery. I'm going to take the battery out of the scooter. I'll put the lid back on because I don't like to lose parts. I'll just semi-tighten this screw back in here because we'll get back to this. So once I have that done, what I'm going to do with this, see right there, is I'm going to throw it on a 2 amp trickle charger. If you don't have one, you can get one off of our website, or you can buy one at the local store. They're only about 15 bucks to get one. The reason that you buy a 2 amp trickle charger is because anything with a small battery on it, you don't want to overcharge the battery and throw too much juice into it. So you want something that's going to give it a slow trickle charge. These are great because they shut off automatically. You can't overcharge the battery. So I'm just going to set this off to the side now, and I'm going to plug it into the wall, put my positive to positive, negative to negative, and let that charge while I'm finishing the assembly. Alright, now that I have that charging up, the first thing we're going to do is your steering column. Your little bag with all the bolts in it, make sure you keep that handy. I like to keep everything in the seat so I don't lose it and I can just pull out what I need. The first thing that we're going to grab is the little bolt that looks like this. That's all it is. I'm going to grab my Loctite. I'm going to grab my 13 and 14 millimeter wrench. You want to come around to the front here, Dave. If you can get in here and show them where this, that's where the bolt goes through. All that's going to do is snug down the thing, the steering column. So what I want to do is I'm going to take my bolt. You don't have to get crazy with the red Loctite, but just put a little bit of red Loctite on it, smear it around. And that'll be fine. And again, just take your time putting these things together. There's no rush. You'll have plenty of time to ride it. Put that through all the way. Start my wrench here, or my nut here on this end. I'm just going to take my sockets and tighten this up. Don't be afraid to snug this thing up pretty tight. This is your steering column. You want to make sure that it's nice and tight. In the shop when we put them together we use our ratchet guns, but I just wanted to do it like you all will be doing it at home. Give you an idea how long it's going to take you. Alright, that's pretty good and snug there. Okay? Now that we have that done, hand out a little bit for him, Dave. After we've uncreated it, we set our parts on the side here that we need. I'm going to go ahead and put the front headlight assembly on. This is called a hood, front headlight assembly. A lot of people call it different things. Just going to remove all the little plastic tabs. I'm going to show you a trick that we do on these. This hood will stay on plenty good enough. This is probably the biggest pain in the butt on scooters, on any scooters, putting them together, is the Chinese have decided to put little, you can see these L brackets on the hood itself. You got one here, one here, one here. We don't need those. It's just, you'll spend hours trying to get this hood on this scooter, and they're really just a pain in the butt. I can just snip those off, kind of keep them straight. You want it to go in, so you don't want to cut it off this way. Make sure you cut it off this way and just cut the little tips off. Just snip those 6 tips off. By the time we screw this thing in here, it's not going to go anywhere. Okay, so now that I have those off, you'll see it's got your little plug here on the end. And there's a plug here underneath on top of your front of the scooter here. You just plug these in. It'll snap together, lock together. And then just carefully set this on here. And it still is a little bit of a trick. You want to line it up. Everything will go into place once you get it in the right spot. And then when you get down here, you'll see, if you can zoom down here, Dave. When I'm here, all I'm going to do is just tap up on it a little bit. You hear stuff click into place here. Alright, now what I'll do is in my bag, I'm just going to grab one of the Phillips head screws. It's got a little rubber cushion on it. That's what I'm going to be putting to the front here. Now, if you notice, I'm not going to Loctite this, because if you ever need to work on the headlights, you don't want it to be so tight in there that you can't get to them. So I'm just going to put it through the front here. And I'm just going to start it. I'm not going to tighten it up, I'm just going to start it to make sure that that's in place. Then I'm going to come back to my bag. There's a bunch of little screws in here. Just want to grab 2 of your smaller screws here. And if you come around on this side, Dave, these are the 2 screws that we're going to be putting in now. This is probably the most tedious job on putting a scooter together. If you can look under here, Dave, with the camera, see that little plastic flange there? Just make sure that this front plastic is below the black plastic. And when you get it in there, you'll know. Because like right now it's under there. Now it's up on it, so I just want to make sure that it's down below. I'm going to use a screwdriver, pop it out a little bit. I'll get my screw in here. You gotta pull it together a little bit, tighten it up. You'll just hear it clicking spot. So that just clicked in. So that one's good. Now I'll come around to the other side. And again, the same thing. If you notice, this one's already up over top, so I need to fix that. And they're pretty tough little scooters. You're not gonna, as long as you don't pry too much, you're not gonna break them. This is one of the most tedious jobs of putting the scooters together, but just take your time and get it right. There you go. Make sure everything's tucked in where it needs to be. And I'm going to grab a flathead real quick start this screw on this side. Just tap it a little bit. There it goes. Tighten that good. Now I'll come to the front of the scooter here. Back to my main screw. Just make sure everything's lined up fairly well. Tap up a couple times on this bottom. And I'll tighten this screw here. Now you want to grab your little front nose piece, and that'll tie everything together. You notice it's got two little holes here. I'll show you what we'll do with that, but that's going to come right under here, and it's going to click into place. You pull it forward, and that'll straighten everything out for you and tighten everything up. And I'm going to go back to my bag. I'll grab two more of those little screws. These screw holes that we saw underneath, I'm just going to put some screws in there. It's actually just going to go straight through the plastic, so you got to put that one on. Pushed up forward on it. The other one on this side. Alright, and your front nose is on. Now what we can move to is the mirrors. Mirrors are easy. I do put Loctite on the mirrors. Loctite. Just go ahead and screw this all the way up so you got plenty of room. Put a little Loctite on it. Oops. Alright, once it's started, we'll go ahead and lift this rubber shield up. And just snug it up for right now. You'll take your 14mm wrench. Just finish snugging that up. Okay. We'll do the other mirror.